Now, from Wish TV, your local news source, this is All Indiana Politics.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of All Indiana Politics on this holiday weekend. We're now just a few days away from the start of the new year, so we want to take some time today to look back at 2021 and what might be ahead in the new year. And we start with the head of Indiana's Republican Party. Kyle Hupford, thank you for joining us. Let's get right to it. If you could look back on 2021, what are some of the highlights?
Well, you know, for us, it's a non-election year, so we've really been just getting the house in order, ready for 2022. So there's not a lot of excitement. I think there's a lot of good things on the state side, on the official side. Governor Holcomb had a great budget session. Ready grants, as you've seen here, have been handed out across the state that I think are going to be transformational over the next 5 to 10 years as these regional communities come together and build these critical projects. But from a political standpoint, you know, we're really just kind of been gearing up for 2022.
So looking ahead to 2022, what are some of the biggest topics that you folks are going to be jumping into?
Well, I think it depends on what perspective you want to look at. Here in the state, we'll obviously have Todd Young at the top of the ticket. He's in great shape for re-election, very popular U.S. Senator, great position from a voter standpoint and a support standpoint. But I think the real story for 22 will be nationally for the Republican Party. We see a significant pushback against the policies of Joe Biden, the way that inflation is going up for all Americans. Hoosiers seeing it in their pocketbooks every day as they shop for goods like groceries and gasoline. I think that's going to be the top topic as we get into 22. And I think you're going to see a good year for Republicans as we're all focused and have come together nationally to ensure that we win back the Congress and the Senate.
How will Indiana play a role in that?
Well, we'll do it in a number of ways. One, we'll hold serve here in Indiana, if not expand. You know, the first district in Northwest Indiana for the first time ever has come on the scene as a potential play for Republicans as a pickup. So we'll certainly be involved there and doing all we can to try to pick up that seat. And then nationally, we'll use our volunteer efforts and tools where we can to also help races out of state have success.
On the state level, as you mentioned, talk about tax cuts if you can. I've heard some rumblings about the possibility of tax cuts being floated out there. Any teeth to that?
Well, we all just got a tax cut, you know, with the automatic refund that was just calculated. So every Hoosier taxpayer is going to get a tax refund next year tied to the surplus that existed at the end of the 2020 budget session. I think there's going to be discussion about it. I think anytime that we can put more dollars into Hoosiers' pockets and the government keep less of it, the better. But it's just got to be looked at as are there going to be dollars to do it? And then what is the best way to do it? And I think the legislature will start looking at it. Just a matter of whether it happens this year or is a better time to look at it during a budget session when all fiscal matters are being looked at in total.
In regards to the vaccine mandate situation, where do we go from here?
Well, I think there's sort of general agreement amongst all that Washington needs to stay out of it. They can't dictate to states or businesses or anyone else what they should or shouldn't do. Here at the state, I think it's going to be a vibrant discussion. There's views amongst our party on both sides of this issue, you know, for a long time, and I tend to fall more in line with the group that says, why is this any different than any other imposition that we've tried to put on small business or business owners? Business owners know best how to provide for their customers, to provide for their employees, and we should let them make their own decisions. And then employees, in turn, as employees at will, can make their own decisions. If it's not the place they want to work, you know, this is a very robust job market out there, and it can become a competitive advantage for some, but also can become a competitive advantage for business to be able to advertise that all of their employees are vaccinated. So I think it's a very tough issue. There's a passionate views on all sides of it, but as Republicans and conservatives, we have generally allowed businesses to operate in the manner that they deem fit, and I'm not sure this is the time that we change that.
Okay, so since you brought it up, as far as the economy goes, state-wise, we're doing pretty well. Do you think President Biden has anything to do with that? I know Democrats point to him as being the reason for our success here in Indiana.
Yeah, I don't know what they would point to point to that. I think that number one, you had COVID shut down, so you had a depressed demand for a significant period of time, and so you now have a pent-up demand for a lot of goods and services. So people now have the ability to go out and buy things like cars, and that they weren't able to for a while. And so you have some pent-up demand in the economy. From a jobs perspective, I think those are all tied to leadership of governors across Indiana historically, putting us in a position for this. And then also what President Trump had done and where he had put this economy before Joe Biden was elected. He cut taxes. He had people going back to work. I think people have forgotten that it was the warp speed that created the vaccinations that allowed some of the businesses to get going back again. So I don't see it. What we see now is that his policies, especially putting so many dollars into the economy, and his energy policies are driving up prices, driving up the cost of consumer goods, which are having a negative impact on those who can least afford the increases associated with those costs.
Kyle Hupfer, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
And coming up, President Biden's Build Back Better plan hits a roadblock in West Virginia, where political experts talk about the dramatic turn of events next on All Indiana Politics. And welcome back to All Indiana Politics as we welcome back two of our favorites, Republican Whitley Yates and Democrat Brian Gaddy. We'll start this week by talking about the Build Back Better plan. Just as we were leaving the air last week, Senator Joe Manchin announced that he would not vote for the plan, effectively leaving that part of the president's agenda dead in the Senate. This week, President Biden told reporters the plan can still be revived.
Mr. President, did Senator Manchin break his commitment to you? When you announced the framework, the White House says that all 50 senators were believed to get behind it, all 50 Democratic senators. So did Senator Manchin break his commitment to you?
Senator Manchin and I are going to get something done. Thank you.
Whitley, you get to go first this time. Is this the end of the Build Back Better plan?
Hopefully it's the end of the Build Back Better plan. I really find it interesting that they're asking if he broke his promise to the president when really Senator Manchin should be held beholden to the people who put him in office and be representing their ideas and deciding what's best for West Virginia as opposed to what's best for his party. And I think by him not voting for Build Back Better and deciding that this isn't something that people in West Virginia want and standing by that, even though his party doesn't agree and is prodding and pushing him to vote for a bill that he doesn't feel would be what's best for his constituents, is honestly just honorable. But there's not a lot of room within the Democratic Party to have freedom of thought. And so I can understand why the party is kind of shunning him at this point.
Brian, your response.
Well, the United Mine Workers, and that's obviously a very big union, and not just throughout the country, but especially in coal country in West Virginia, has come out in favor of Build Back Better, and they're asking for Senator Joe Manchin to support Build Back Better. So I do think in the end, we're going to get something worked out. I do think Senator Manchin is going to sit down with his fellow Senate Democrats. He's already talking with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. We Democrats, the Senate Democrats had a conference call the other day. Senator Manchin was on that call. He's still talking. He has not said that Build Back Better is gone forever. He still just wants to learn more about what the bill can do, and just learn more from his perspective about how he can work it out with the factions within the party. I mean, it's a temporary setback, but it's not a permanent setback.
He was pretty adamant, though, Brian. He said no. How does that change into a yes?
No, the thing about it is no is never in politics. I mean, how many times have we heard a politician say no and they've later came back and said, yeah, okay. And by the way, if I can add, there is plenty of diversity of thought in the Democratic Party. We don't all march in lockstep like they do in the Republican Party. I mean, if you disagree with former President Donald Trump, and I always enjoy saying that, you're a pariah in that party. So I don't think anyone can say
I know you want to jump in here. Go ahead, respond.
Let's be honest, Build Back Better isn't popular. Joe Biden lost West Virginia by like 40 points. I mean, if we're really looking at the I guess the overall air in West Virginia as a whole, they don't really approve of the current president. And so looking at his approval ratings in West Virginia at 30%, Joe Manchin even being locked in step with Biden is not good politically. And clearly, the people that he represents, they do not agree with where this current administration is leading us. And it's evident.
So to that point, Brian, did President Biden go too far with this plan? Did he ask for too much?
I don't think so. And in fact, Build Back Better has actually come down. We've actually accommodated Senator Manchin in a lot of ways. I mean, this was a plan that was originally over $4 trillion. And it's come down to around $1.5 trillion, $2 trillion. So we've already moved closer and closer to Senator Manchin. That's why I think in the end, we're going to get something passed.
It shouldn't be two. It shouldn't be two. And he said what his number was going to be. The problem is, for some reason, the Democratic Party of today and the Biden administration spend money like Real Housewives. And that's really just an issue.
Well, you know what? When you all have the White House under former President Donald Trump, you engaged in profligate spending, and you didn't seem to have a problem. You and I have talked about this over and over again.
We can talk about the former president, but right now, for the past 12 months, it's been President Biden.
To Brian's point, though, Whitley, the former administration spent a lot of money.
He's created 5 million jobs too, so he's doing a great job. President Biden is.
And yet, we still have a labor shortage.
All right. Well, here, Brian, really quickly. Where do Democrats go with Senator Manchin? What's next?
I think where we go with Senator Manchin is that we're going to work out something. We're going to definitely get a bill worked out. Senator Schumer's already said that he's going to put it up for a vote in January. I think sometime between January and in the spring, we're going to definitely get this bill passed, and it's going to get signed into law by President Biden, and the Republicans will have to take an L.
Whitley, 30 seconds to respond.
I hope Build Back Better is dead in the water. I think we need to stop and slow down on all these ridiculous spending bills that only actually use 10% or less towards the items that they say that they're for. I think the current administration is out of control. Inflation is high. We must stop.
Okay. We will keep an eye on it. Whitley, Brian, stay with us. We'll talk about what's ahead in 2022 for Indiana politics next on All Indiana Politics. And welcome back to All Indiana Politics on this Sunday. Brian and Whitley are still with us. Brian, let's take a look back at the year that's wrapping up. Some of the biggest accomplishments and biggest disappointments for Indiana Democrats, in your opinion.
Well, I think the biggest accomplishment for not just Indiana Democrats, but Democrats all over America is we got Donald Trump out of the White House. We fired Donald Trump. I mean, you can't get any better than that. Not only that, just the Indiana Democratic Party is getting stronger. We're building our party. Chairman Mike Schmoll is doing an excellent job. One of our colleagues here on All Indiana Politics, Drew Anderson, is doing just such a great job as our communications director. So things are looking up. And, and I would actually say to my Republican friends, you should want to have two-party competition in this state. And I admit, I'll be the first to admit, as a loyal Hoosier Democrat, we've had a bad stretch here for the last decade, but we're beginning to turn things around. And this state has always been competitive between the Indiana Democrats and Indiana Republicans. And I think things are going to start turning around. So I would say to the Indiana Republicans, watch out. Your days of dominating Indiana politics are soon to be over.
All right, strong words. Same question for you, Whitley. Biggest highlights, biggest disappointments for Republicans?
The biggest highlights, I would say, is obviously Governor Holcomb's win, being reelected with the largest number of votes in Indiana history. Another biggest win is obviously State Auditor Klutz, who's going to return $545 million to Hoosier taxpayers. Obviously, Kyle Hupfer, who led one of the best political parties, the Indiana Republican Party, leading victories around the entire state, increasing our supermajority. Honestly, we had a winning year here in Indiana, and the Indiana Republican Party is, honestly, it's been on a roll, and I think it's going to stay on a roll. Let's see.
Hold on. Let me jump in real quick, Whitley. A lot of infighting, though, within the party between the governor, lawmakers, and the attorney general.
Yeah, you know what is really interesting? As I stated earlier, within our party, we have freedom of thought, and we can dissent with decorum and not get along and challenge each other.
Trump, you don't have freedom of thought.
In ways that is beneficial. And I think that it's important that we continue to have that freedom of thought and that we don't all have to be lock in step all the time.
Go ahead, Brian.
Go ahead, Brian.
Hey, we all know that in the Republican Party, whether it's here in Indiana or anywhere else in the United States, if you disagree with former President Donald Trump, you're a pariah in that party. So the fact that well, Whitley is saying that there's a diversity of thought in the Republican Party. We all know that's not the case. But the fact is, the Democrats, we're going to do well in the 2022 elections. I think we're going to get this. We're going to keep the economy moving forward. And there's no doubt about it. And all we have to do is remember where we were when we had the former President Donald Trump in the White House. And America doesn't want to go back to that, and neither does Indiana.
Ryan, do Democrats have a chance at winning this? Hold on one second, Willie. Do Democrats have a chance at winning the Senate, and will they keep that northwestern seat?
We're going to keep that northwestern seat, and we do have a fight. We have a puncher's chance against Senator Young. As I've said before about Senator Todd Young, he's definitely not a fiscal conservative. He pretends to be. We have a good chance. We have a good chance. Okay. So, like as I said before, the Indiana Democratic Party is coming back, and we're definitely not the party we were a few years ago. We're a much stronger party, and we're going to start giving the Republicans here in Indiana a run for their money, and they know it.
Any teeth to what Brian's saying here, Whitley?
Absolutely not. Senator Young will be reelected by a majority. They probably may not even have a candidate that gets enough signatures to get on the ballot. And the truth is, the Indiana Democratic Party has nowhere to go but up from here, because in Indiana, they actually hold absolutely no seats with a super minority. So any improvement to where they are now is a good job. They will obviously
we do have the mayor of the biggest city in the state,
and
Indianapolis. That counts for something.
With the highest crime rate and homicides, more than Chicago.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because crime has become, unfortunately, a political issue. What needs to be done here, Brian, since you brought it up in Marion County, to fix the crime problem that we're seeing?
Well, to fix the crime problem, it takes a myriad of solutions. So number one, we've got to obviously have strong law enforcement, which we Democrats do support our brothers and sisters in law enforcement. I don't know why this canard of defund the police that does not apply to the Democratic Party. We Democrats support law enforcement, but we also have to create jobs, and we also have to help make sure that people don't engage in crime in the first place. So it's a multi-pronged task.
Hold on one sec. How could you say that doesn't apply to the Democratic Party?
Well, what doesn't apply to the Democratic Party?
Defund the police.
It doesn't, because you have not, again, you and I talked about this before. There is not one major Democrat, not just here in Indiana, but anywhere in the country, that has ever advocated for defunding the police. Not
Brian,
one.
that's just not true.
One.
It's not true. Fake news.
Name me a major, name me
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
AOC.
Well, AOC is a prominent Democrat in the Democratic Party, but she is not the leader of the Democratic Party. President Joe Biden is, and Vice President Kamala Harris, they're the leaders of the Democratic Party. As long as the President of the United States and the Vice President of the United States have not called for that, that is the position of the Democratic Party.
Okay,
you gotta walk it back.
Let's just
nothing to walk back.
Let's just circle back here real quick. What needs to happen in order to get this crime problem under control? 2022. Brian.
What needs to happen? Again, like I've just stated, strong support for law enforcement, creating jobs, and helping strengthen families. I mean, it's a multi-pronged attack. It's a multi-pronged approach.
I would agree.
But
I think
again,
a lot
it's
of
not just the Democrats. It's not just a Democratic problem. I mean, you look in states that are run by Republicans. There's high crime there as well, including right here. I mean, our governor of our state is a Republican. So it's not just a Democrat problem. It's not just.
It's an all of us problem. Whitley,
absolutely.
And so this is probably going to be a big topic in 2022. So your thoughts and what Brian is saying and what you think needs to be done.
So to be honest, one of the best things that we can do is probably eradicate Prosecutor Mears and get him out of there. Get a new mayor who actually shows up to work. Probably,
30 seconds.
Support the police, not just in words, not just say we support the police, but then remove funding from them, but actually support the police and support programs that provide holistic approaches to crime.
Mayor Hogsett is a strong supporter of police officers.
Yes.
We need to stop throwing millions and millions of dollars in crime prevention,
10 seconds,
targeted to the Black community, because basically you're saying that we are predispositioned to be criminals when all of the crime prevention money is being thrown into Black communities.
Mayor Hogsett is doing a great job with supporting.
We'll take this conversation offline. Brian, Whitley, always good to see you. Thank you. Happy holidays, and we'll be right back.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
And thank you for joining us for All Indiana Politics. We'll be back here next Sunday morning at 9:30. Have a great rest of your weekend. And from our entire team here at Wish TV, have a happy new year.